Can a simple suspension bar change the destiny of an entire team? What has Ferrari done in its SF26 that has Hamilton speechless and Leclerc rethinking his entire driving style? What seemed like a technical evolution has become a revolution that could rewrite the history of Formula One. Stick around because we are going to dismantle Project 678 piece by piece and reveal why Ferrari has left the entire paddock silent. It all started discreetly, almost like a rumor among engineers in the corridors of Maranello. But when Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton were summoned to the private technical meetings where they would be presented with the first concept of the SF26, neither of them were prepared for what they would see. In front of them was not only a digital model of a new car, there was a manifesto of total break with more than a decade of tradition. Pushrod suspension, an architecture that Ferrari had abandoned in favor of the more conventional and safer pull rod since the days of the F10 in 2010, was returning to the scene. But not as a nostalgic option, but as the structural basis of the Scuderia's most ambitious project in more than a decade. The reaction of both pilots was almost simultaneous. Hamilton, with his experience at teams such as McLaren and Mercedes, immediately understood the scope of this decision. It was not just a design change, but a declaration of technical war on the status quo. For years, pull rod suspension had been the standard at Ferrari, a comfort zone that offered predictability, stability, and above all, ease of integration with conventional aerodynamic solutions. Going back to a pushrod system not only meant rethinking the entire dynamic behavior of the car, but also completely rewriting the way airflow was generated and managed. Charles Leclerc, for his part, did not hide his surprise. He had grown up within the Ferrari technical ecosystem. He had lived through the seasons of frustration, the failed experiments, and the conservative solutions that kept the team competitive, but never dominant. Seeing that the team was now betting on such an aggressive solution took him completely out of his comfort zone. But at the same time, it opened a door to a car that finally promised to adapt to his aggressive driving style, especially when entering corners. The pushrod system, by allowing greater freedom in the geometry of the front axle, could offer the type of immediate response that had always been unsuccessfully requested from the Maranello engineers. Throughout the presentation, the Ferrari technicians did not skimp on details. They explained that this was not a simple relocation of components, but a complete redesign of the joints, anchor points, and loading paths. Ferrari's modern pushrod was accompanied by a new progressive absorption system, sensors integrated into the structure, and a fusion between composite materials and reinforced metal that sought to offer the rigidity in a straight line and the elasticity in curves necessary to adapt to the new 2026 regulations. Most impressively, preliminary simulated data showed radical improvements in aerodynamic efficiency, tire temperature control, and lateral stability. It was, in every sense, a completely new beast. A platform that not only promised to give battle to McLaren and Red Bull, but also to give Hamilton that 8th title that had eluded him by a thousandth. And to Leclerc, the real opportunity to become world champion with the team of his dreams. But beyond the graphics and simulations, what impacted the pilots the most was the conviction with which the technical team defended the project. There was no longer talk of patches or partial updates. This was a total paradigm shift. The SF26 was not going to be an evolution of the SF25. It was a point and apart. And in that moment, both drivers understood that Ferrari wasn't just building a car, it was building a legacy. One that could finally mark the definitive return of the Scuderia to the top of world motorsport. What Ferrari has developed for 2026 is not a conventional suspension, and it is not a simple reinterpretation of concepts already known in Formula One. What is hidden under the chassis of the SF26 is a work of engineering that seems straight out of science fiction, and that represents a complete break with the traditional limits of what a suspension can and should do. We are not talking about a passive part that simply absorbs bumps or maintains stability. We are talking about an intelligent system, a mechanical structure designed to actively adapt to the conditions of the track, the tire, and even the driving style in real time. Literally, a suspension that thinks. At the heart of this innovation are suspension arms constructed from state-of-the-art anisotropic carbon fiber. This is not a common or frequently used material in dynamic components of this nature. Its particularity is that it has a variable and programmed flexibility according to the direction and magnitude of the applied forces. This means that these arms can behave as completely rigid elements during static inspections or situations of high longitudinal pressure such as braking or acceleration, but acquire lateral elasticity when the car is in full curve, responding to the G-forces acting on the wheels. This phenomenon, controlled from its structural composition and not through electronic or hydraulic elements that would be illegal, allows the SF26 suspension to vary the camber angle of the wheels in real time. Dynamic camber is the holy grail in suspension design because it improves tire contact with the asphalt during the most critical moments of cornering. So instead of the rubber wearing down due to uneven friction, it maintains its stable contact patch, which reduces temperature, maximizes grip, and extends the life of the tire. This technical capability not only promises to solve one of Ferrari's historical headaches, premature tire degradation in racing conditions, but also opens a new strategic window. With this system, the Scuderia will be able to opt for softer, faster compounds and race more aggressively without the constant fear of losing performance in the second half of the stints. In a reduced downforce scenario like 2026, where cars will rely more than ever on mechanical grip, this could represent an impossible advantage for rivals to match. But what is most impressive is how this technology was validated. Despite being at the limit of what the technical regulations allow, the FIA found no arguments to reject it. In static tests, these components meet all structural rigidity requirements. Only on the track, under dynamic forces impossible to replicate on a traditional test bench, do they show their true elastic behavior. An ingenious, legal trick that redefines the border between mechanical and adaptable. The F1 technical community is divided. Some engineers believe Ferrari has found a loophole as sophisticated as Mercedes' FRIC suspension in 2014, while others say it opens the door to a new generation of intelligent suspensions that could completely redefine the competition. Whatever the result, the truth is that Ferrari has taken a step forward in pure innovation, and it has done so with a commitment that combines audacity, advanced engineering, and a deep understanding of the new regulatory environment. In short, it is not a simple evolution of parts. It is a philosophical transformation that turns the suspension from a static element for decades into a dynamic system that interprets the track, anticipates the curve, and reacts before the driver even notices it. Ferrari has not only developed a fast car, he has developed a nervous system for his car. And that changes everything. Everything Ferrari has done up to this point converges on a single question that floats in the atmosphere of Maranello like a silent obsession. What if this time it is the right car? The SF26 was not born as a simple response to a new regulation. It was born as a complete reinterpretation of what Ferrari believes a champion car in modern Formula One should be. In 2026, not only do the rules change, the balance of power changes, and Ferrari has decided not to get to that point by reacting, but by leading the change from its origin. The drastic reduction in downforce and drag forces teams to look for performance where it was not a priority before. With less dependence on the ground and large wings, the focus returns to mechanical grip, chassis efficiency, and the car's ability to maintain constant performance throughout the race. In that scenario, the architecture of the SF26 makes sense. The pushrod suspension on both axles is not an eccentricity, it is the cornerstone of a concept designed to maximize every millimeter of aerodynamic efficiency without sacrificing stability or traction. The packaging of the car is radical. The nose is narrower, the airflows are channeled more cleanly towards the center and rear, and the diffuser area works with an efficiency unprecedented for Ferrari. Everything is designed to reduce energy losses, minimize turbulence, and keep the car stable even when dirty air from other cars compromises performance. This approach doesn't just look for one-lap speed, it looks for consistency, something Ferrari has pursued for years without full success. For Lewis Hamilton, this project represents more than just a new car. It is probably his last great opportunity to redefine his legacy. The SF26 is designed to adapt to a pilot who needs absolute confidence when entering corners, a predictable front end, and a stable platform that allows him to exploit his extreme sensitivity with the accelerator. Ferrari has listened, has observed his way of working from within, and has built a car that does not require him to adapt, but adapts to him. That symbiosis is what can make the difference between fighting for podiums or for the 8th world title. Formula One has always been a technical, emotional, and political battlefield. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are not simply waiting for the car to work. They are deeply involved in its development. Their input has been instrumental in every iteration of the design, from suspension geometry to the type of materials used. This level of internal collaboration, with Hamilton bringing years of experience in winning championships and Leclerc still hungry to prove he can be world champion, gives the SF26 a different soul. It is not a car imposed from above. It is a joint creation born of frustration, the desire to break the cycle, and the ambition to rewrite Ferrari's name in the golden books of motorsport. But this is just the beginning. The 2026 season hasn't started yet, and while the data, simulations, and leaks paint a promising picture, everything will be tested when the light goes out for the first race. The true judgment will be made curve by curve, stop by stop, under the pressure of the stopwatch and the critical gaze of millions of fans. Leave me your opinion, what you think about all this.